So Cam from Fitbox has asked us, we have VALD plates, so he's asked us to do a little video on VALD as a company. We only use one set of their plates, so that's all we're going to talk about today, but they do have some other stuff as well. So I'm Matt, this is Dave. Although we are under the one umbrella, we're going to talk about two different arms of our company today. So I'm going to do the Gym to Green stuff, which is the golf elite side through there, or even just the general hackers as well. And then Dave's going to take the general pop side through there from our gym perspective.
Yep. So looking at all our group class work that we run in here, and also a bit of our PTs as well. That is more of a gen pop focus from that.
Yeah, perfect. So we've had VALD for a little over 2 years now. And I'd had some exposure with my strength and conditioning stuff earlier on in my career with force plates and bits and pieces. So when they started to become a little bit more available to the private sector, mostly from, well, a little bit from a tech perspective, but mostly from a cost perspective, it was a no-brainer for me. I was like, this is great, let's jump on this. So we've had them for about 2 years. We have the Force Deck Minis, which we needed for, one, a cost perspective, but two, then also the portability so that I can take them with golfers and do bits and pieces, and they go well in the gym.
Yep, definitely.
The only thing I think we've found with them is they are the smallest ones they make, and so any of the jumping stuff, even with the kind of the outer on it.
Yeah, if you've got a particularly big foot, it can be hard to land on those decks, the mini ones, consistently. So that's sort of the only limitation to the smaller ones.
Yep. So I dare say most of the people watching this video will be from a gen pop perspective, maybe a little bit of some other stuff. So Dave, what benefits have you found when we've introduced it to the gen pop gym side?
Yeah, so straight off the bat, I guess if you're getting people in the gym, it provides great baseline data and a lot of objective data too. So if you've got people that are brand new to a gym environment, you're able to give them some strength measures, some power measures, without having to load them up heavy on like a 5 rep max or a 1 rep max, and they've had no exposure to that sort of work before. So off the bat, getting some baseline data, some objective data.
They're really quite hesitant, some people, and not just females, but we've seen that more in females where they're like, I don't like the heavy stuff. I don't want to do a 3RM or a 1RM or whatever. Whereas if we do an isometric belt squat and we just explain, hey, just go as hard as you possibly can, they seem okay with that.
Yeah, it removes a lot of the barriers to entry with that sort of stuff, and then also gives you some touch points and feedback points to then work with along their strength journey and whatnot. So that's sort of a big one from there. Again, we sort of spoke about that, is it's very risk averse. So you're not getting people into awkward positions they haven't been in before. You know, you're not going to be crunching them from that, awkward swine position with the heavy weight on their back and stuff. So it's a lot easier to try and get people in and get some numbers from that. Also, and more from a group class setting, it's really good at driving that intent. So we've used it a couple of times where we're doing some jumps and we want people to be producing a lot of force and jumping as high as they possibly can. We can give them some real-time data of, hey, look, you've just jumped 20 centimetres, you've jumped 30 centimetres and whatnot. And that gives them that bit of competition. So in a group setting, if Susie's jumped higher than Tracy, then Tracy's like, I want to jump higher than Susie, then we can sort of work off that and get a better outcome for what we're trying to develop. So driving intent, getting that buy-in, it's really helpful with those force decks. Other things there, the user-friendly. So it's easy to show people their data in real time. You don't have to be stuffing around a whole lot. Like, it's pretty instantaneous. So that's really helpful in a busy class. It's very helpful.
Yep. So all of those apply to me in the golf space, but then there's a few specific ones that I'll touch on as well. So if I've got males, females players coming back from overseas, they might have done 6 weeks on the road on tournaments and whatnot. As they come back, I want a baseline of where we are fatigue-wise. So I monitor my fatigue through that, and that can be an RSI or a modified RSI, something through there. So I'll use the force plates for that. It'll also influence my programming, and so that probably relates more to if I get someone in who wants to play Pennants or is a weekend warrior, something like that, and Okay, well, do you need more strength or do you need more rate of force development? Like, can you express it quite fast or do you just need a bigger engine? And so based on what we do on those plates, I get all that data and then I can go, right, okay, from this I can see that you definitely have enough strength, you just can't express it quickly enough. And so that will influence how I program for them moving forward. The last thing on that that's different is, I guess, there's a huge correlation between your ability to jump or your impulse when you jump on the force decks, which gives me the data, and your club head speed. So again, someone who takes it very, very seriously and is not just your run-of-the-mill like a trainer, then you jump on these plates and it's like, oh, I've got this actual data and it's tangible and this is what we're going to see and this is normative data relative to the European Tour or the PGA Tour or other world pros that I've trained, whatever it is. It just adds that next level through there.
Yeah, and I think that also applies into our Gem Pop, specifically in a more of a PT setting. We use them a fair bit in a rehab setting as well. So I found it very valuable to be able to give real-time data on baselines and deficits, and we can then set some goals on, okay, we need to get within a certain percentage of injured limb and non-injured limb before we can progress to our next stages. You know, I want to see these numbers here before we can move on with that process. So it's really handy to get a client to buy into that. Because they know where they need to be. They know if they've been doing the work and they haven't been doing the work because the data doesn't lie. So that's very helpful. But also working alongside even physios, you can present them with data and go, hey, this is where we're at. What are your thoughts here? Can we progress? Can we not? So it's very helpful in that standpoint as well.
Yeah, I like it from the, if you're a client, I like it from the client perspective of, okay, I can definitely see this working.
Yeah.
But from a company's perspective where obviously we want to keep producing really good quality stuff, it keeps us accountable. Because if you put them on the decks and you're like, oh my God, that didn't improve at all, it really makes us think, like we're putting ourselves in front of both barrels of the shotgun for the client to turn around and be like, why? I've been doing everything you said and I haven't improved. Like, this is on you, not me. So we haven't had that situation yet, but I do like the fact that it keeps us accountable to not push crap.
Yep, definitely.
Right, let's move on. Do we charge for the VALD plates or access to the VALD plates?
Yeah, so we don't charge individuals to use those decks. We use it as a value add for our product that we have here at the gym. So it's people already paying a premium to train with us and be in this environment. So we want to give them the best access to equipment and education and knowledge that we can. And so we build our cost into our sessions with that. So yeah, we don't charge per client to use the decks, but we use them as a tool to keep people coming back and to continue training with us because we have that access to equipment and that information from there.
Yeah. As a general rule, as the business owner, I've never bought into solely fighting for customers based on the equipment you've got, because there's always going to be someone with a bigger space and newer equipment and something fancy and whatever. But this is one of the ones that we did do because it's just how you implement it essentially. So we don't, as Dave said, we don't charge for it, but we use it as a value add, and it's like, oh wow, this is cool. Like, I'm going to keep coming back because these guys, are top end and it's what they do. And we get rehab clients, PTs, stuff like that. We're outside of the group classes because we've got that. We can say, hey, let's come and do this. Prior, there's a lot of other spaces that have them now, but prior to that, to get access to the force decks, you had to be in a Queensland Academy of Sport or a real top end
physio clinic or
something like that. Yeah. What can we suggest to other Fitbox gyms about VALD if they're on the fence or they've not even heard of it, and potentially how they would go about getting on board?
Yeah. I think the beauty with VALD is they're very cooperative and the education that they can provide around the decks and with the decks is pretty top notch. So if you were to get them, I would highly suggest getting them, and they typically will come in and run you through protocols and give you some education around that.
We had that early. They came out early, which was good.
Really handy.
And even 2 months ago, I had a high-end question about some timing on the force plates within the golf swing and some other stuff, which was much easier done in person. And they said, listen, come into HQ, you go in there, and then if you haven't been in there, go and do yourself a favour. It's a cool little setup, and they treat you like kings when you go in there.
Yeah.
And
it's Brisbane based too.
It is Brisbane, which is great.
Helpful.
And then they gave us, the engineers were there and our manager, and it was awesome. We got to ask as many questions as we want. They weren't in a rush. Just the quality was top notch. How they run it and how they look after the people who use their equipment is very, very good.
Yeah, so I guess our highlights there, accessibility is really good. Like it's top quality. So getting involved in the education around what you're doing and how to perform protocols and what you would derive from that information there, they're more than happy to help with that. So if that's a barrier, something you see as a barrier, I wouldn't be worried about that, because it's something that is quite easily attainable once you start to utilize the resources that they have.
Yeah, and because it's not a cheap piece of equipment, right?
No,
and so if you're going to outlay that cash and sign up for it, you do need to understand how to get the most out of it. And so you spend the first little bit learning that, and then once you've got your head around it, then you're like, oh, this actually, the more you learn, the more value it adds, obviously, and so the cost is less. It stings less.
Yeah. The other thing that I found with VALD as well is it's very user-friendly. So I mentioned it before, but the real-time data that it gives you, the comparisons it gives you straight away after doing a protocol is really, really helpful. It now compares it against normative data, which is massive for us, especially with some of our older populations. We can tell them, hey, this is where you sit compared to someone of your age, of your gender, and that really helps us with that programming and giving them
and the intent.
Yeah.
Do you know, oh, I'm the low end for my age, for my white female, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so it drives them to come and train more, or their intent of the actual sessions goes up as well. So it's all good.
Yeah, definitely. And then also they have all the data on the back end as well. So then you can then access reports. You can compare groups against other groups and whatnot on their web hub that they have with all their data. The user-friendly accessibility there is really good, compared to other products that we've seen.
So if you're watching this video, I assume you're already with Fitbox. I think that was the brief we were given. So I'm probably not going to tell you anything new here, but Fitbox, we've been with them for a couple of years now, and the onboarding to come across from wherever we were prior was great. Cam has been phenomenal. He has helped us out in whatever we possibly need. And I guess the biggest thing is they start to provide these little access to things like these VALD plates in a way that it's a value for money structure is the best way I can kind of come up with that, where you've paid the service for the sign-in and the Fitbox app and all the structure around that, and then these are a nice little add-on that you can actually use your credit for as well. So, hopefully that helps you at all. Honestly, if you want to come and check out the plates and you don't want to go into VALD yet, reach out. We're more than happy to run you through the plates and have a conversation, ask any questions. You can come and do some jumps, bits and pieces, check out your normative data.
Yeah, and there's also plenty of other equipment that VALD have too that are pretty cool. You get speed gates and a whole bunch of other stuff, which dynamometers, which are just really cool. So there's plenty of stuff out there that will suit the needs that you want for whatever space you're running.
Cool. All right. See you later.